We're here in Miltown Malbay on the Monday of the Willie Clancy week, and we're here in the house of Tom and Baby Queally, who passed away in the last few years. But this was a great house for music, and we're delighted that Patrick's given us the use of the hall. And we're here with my ITMA colleagues, and we're welcoming Seán Talty, who is one of the most renowned pipers in the country and is from Miltown Malbay, and it's only fitting that Seán comes in and has a chat about his music and his influences. So, Seán, welcome.
Thanks, Patrick. Thank you.
So, again, we're here in Miltown. You're from Miltown. Again, your father, Martin, was a very well-known musician over the years and a good friend of, obviously, Willie Clancy and that. And again, do you want to just tell us about, clearly, your father, where his influences came and how he came to influence you starting to play the pipes?
Yeah, well, I think originally as a young lad going to school, his mother played the piano, and when he was going to school, I think that the idea was that he might do the piano as well. And up the street here, there was a woman called Mary Ellen Vaughan who taught classical piano, and he went to her for some lessons, and that's where he was taught to read music and stuff like that. And then, as what has been well documented before, they were at school together, Willie Clancy and himself, and he would have heard the tin whistle. And then the connection with the Dorns, they went out to Queally, as this story went about them seeing Johnny Dorn at the races in Spanish Point there at the race course. And he would subsequently come from time to time and camp just beyond Queally there. And they went out there and got to have a go at the pipes and learn a bit about the pipes. And they had no pipes at the time. I think Felix eventually got, Johnny's brother eventually got a practice set to Willie, and that's what got him going on that. But they followed him down to Kilrush as well. And that was, I think, their introduction to music. And the whole history followed on from that. As they grew older, then getting pipes, playing pipes, the formation of the Loughdine Queally band here, and Willie and my father played pipes in that.
I remember that was a well-known band in the 50s, and then, but who else was in it? I mean, there was other people, local musicians.
They were all local musicians. You had Junior Crehan, Paddy Galvin from Quilty on fiddle, James Flynn, very good fiddler player here in the Coleman style of music those times. James was in it. Christy Dixon, they were the fiddle players. Then you had J.C. Talty on flute, Michael Falsey on flute, Michael Sexton on accordion, Paddy Joe McMahon on accordion. Yeah. And Angela Merry, she was teaching here at the time, she played the bass fiddle. Right. And then you had Colin O'Connor, he was a woodwork teacher in the tech here, he played piano. Right. And it was funny, recently I was looking up a little bit of the history of them, and it was I suppose, like nowadays, the Queally bands competitions in the Fla and stuff like that. They had actually played against the Tulla and the Kilfenora a couple of years in the Fla, but they eventually did beat them and won a title for it. And of course, then in town they had a theatre group kind of thing here, Ashdory and the Carracht, and they were all culturally anxious and involved in that, and they won the All Ireland with that to when it was competition.
Like an amateur drama thing.
Yeah. And like you talk about winning All Irelands and competition and stuff. Look, it was the only show in town at the time. That was it, and it was an introduction to the wider community, and through that, I think a lot of the people that came down from Dublin realised that there was a little bit more out the country, and of course Joe Cooley would be a regular at our house before my time now, but and they would go over there and play at house dances and stuff like that, Paddy Kenny, and so there was a connection there with that, and that I think would have been his. Of course they got hugely interested in kind of promoting that music, and through either flaes,
Yeah.
and he subsequently ended up teaching here. He taught the whistle and flute for a good number of years at night classes in the winter time, you know. And that, I think, introduced some people to it as well here, you know. So I think that's how it stemmed to him, how it developed, you know.
Yeah. And obviously after Willie passed away, your father was central in setting up the school after with himself and Murish and
there was Paddy Joe and the usual suspects. Paddy Malone, they were both working for Coes and Gas at the time, and
right.
There was an issue trying to get it going rightly, and Paddy was working in Donegal, and Coltis were organising stuff called Aikshas, and that's kind of where it has to be an Aiksha if we're going to be involved, kind of thing. And Micheál O'Loughlin was a connection to that they knew, but he couldn't really get involved with Seamus McMahon had to, because this was his area through the, you know. But subsequently there was a great gang at the minute. Paddy Joe and Paddy Malone, my father, Seán Talty, all Freel, Paddy Joe, McMahon, as I said. Frankie was in it, you know, and Murish, and you know, it was just something to commemorate him. And there was a question about what do we do? And they said at the time, you probably remember it from coming down here, there used to be a load of tractors over outside the square there, and so we put up a statue there, and I said, sure as God, someone's going to hit it and knock it, you know. So that went in the bin. But then they were trying to see if they could change the classes, the night classes, to the Willie Clancy night classes, and they said no, because it was only it was paid by the VEC, so they didn't want to get that kind of way involved in it, and they wouldn't run it during the summer because the school would be closed. Right. So the idea was to start the classes in pipes, whistle, fiddle, flute, and concertina, you know, which it did. And as you remember well, there was only a handful of pupils up there, and look at it now, the success of it. And, in
fact, I mean, it is a great legacy to your father Martin and those pioneers at the time, if you think about it, what it's grown into.
Well, yeah, it was not just him. There was a gang of them that were like-minded that time, and both, like I said, culturally they were hugely enthusiastic, both musically and the theatre type thing, and the Irish language. That was a very important thing to them. So it was a cultural thing, really. And Mick O'Connor, even from Dublin, said to me they had applied to Coltis, because Mick was involved with that at the time, and to run the first fleadh here in Miltown. And who the hell are these guys? You know, out the wilderness, and they were pretty impressed with the way they approached it, the way they organised it, and it ran very successfully. And they asked them to help out in the Kilrush fleadh afterwards. And you know, so I think they kind of they identified themselves as people that were progressive in
serious and could promote it properly and professionally.
Absolutely, you know. And it was a huge interest, you know.
And just about yourself, so in terms of, when did you start getting an interest in music in terms of whistle and flute and pipes? Well,
I started learning the whistle when I was about 5 or 6. I went to the classes with my father, but what had attracted me to that was at the I can't remember, it was a Thursday night or something, he used to, the shirt and tie would be on, and James Flynn and himself would hit off, and that was to Bunratty Castle. They had a cultural night there. The band for the night was James Flynn, my father, and John Lyons, and Dennis Doody. So you'd hear about the times they had, and you know, the music and the atmosphere at that time was all about yarns and you know, a bit of light entertainment in ways, but they were having a good time themselves too, you know. So from that, then, well, if you want to play, you go to the classes. So I went to the classes, and he was keen that you would learn to read music. So I managed to work it out after a while that if you sat at the back of the class, you were considered maybe a messer, so you'd be brought straight to the front. So I'd plant myself about 4 or 5 rows down, so I wouldn't be touched. And there was an ulterior motive in that too. He'd point out the notes, and all I had to do was learn it off by the time to get me, because I couldn't get the grasp of reading it at all. So, but he was sure that I could read it. But after a while, he started randomly one night, and I was just left sitting there. I couldn't do anything. So
cut you out.
I got the door then, and And the next time I was back, I was helping him teach the class, do roles and stuff like that, you know. So it was, there was so many people calling to the house then playing music and stuff. You just grow up with it. You don't think that this is a thing, you know. It's just
natural.
Part of what goes on, and you know. And then you're surrounded by any time you go somewhere. I remember we used to go. Frank Custy was trying to get a lot of stuff going over in Tuna at the time. And Seán Maguire used to come down there regularly, and my father knew Seán, and we'd go over there. And I'll never forget Kitty Linan from the Kilfenora. They'd be there, or some few of them, and they'd go up and play a bit. And she'd insist that I go up, and she was great to encourage and keep going. And you know, it was lovely atmosphere with those people them times, you know.
Yeah, supporting young people.
Absolutely, you know. And then with the event of the Willie Clancy week starting, I went to the pipes class then one year, and that kind of got me going on the pipes. And you know,
do you remember the teacher?
I started with the very first year with Brian Gallagher, and the following year then I was in with Pat Mitchell, with Jimmy O'Brien Moran and Tommy Keane and the usual suspects. yeah, and so that it went from there, and Corn, as time went on, I progressed to teaching on it myself. Yeah. I'd been teaching the whistle before that on it, but then I ended up teaching the pipes at it as well, you know.
That kind of made sense. And your pipes, again, you know, the pipers, the actual instrument is so central for pipers. So, again, you had your father's pipes and you inherited Willie's pipes.
That was a little bit of an accident, really, because, yes, my father's pipes were there, but they were massive. They were a B-flat set, and
the Harrington, is it?
Yeah, and I couldn't handle them, really, at that age. And after Willie died, some guy came to the door and I think offered Doreen a few bob for everything. So she rang my father and said, "Oh my God, no." He says, you better come down and go through it. And so they went through it, and there was just a box of stuff and this and that. And
was that a relation of Doreen's?
Doreen herself. Oh no, it wasn't. It was one of these guys who, I think, goes around from house to house buying the dresser and buying whatever, if there's any stuff left, and you know. But between my father and Morish, they paid her what they were worth at the time, and they took it away. So I was more intrigued by the colour of the timber of one, and I was, and that's another piece. And then I pointed it out to him, and he looked, there's a full set there. But they had been taken apart in pieces, and they were a Rowsome set.
Right, yeah.
So there were a set he had. I've seen lots of pictures of him. He actually used them in the Rowsome quartet at one stage when he played.
But they were presumably left-handed sets.
They were left-handed.
So you had to get them transferred.
Well, like I say, I didn't know because everything was taken apart.
Yeah.
And the stock was. I still have the original stock, and so of course that was left-handed and had to be turned around, and that's how I came by them, you know. And it just happened that there was a full set. I think there was one part missing, the top end of the baritone drone. Now, I think there was a boxwood chanter originally with it, but the chanter that I got with it, I've seen lots of photos after of Willie, and it was a blackwood chanter that he was using, and it's the same one, you know.
Yeah.
So thankfully I stumbled across them like that, and they're the pipes I've had for years. And then my son got curious about the pipes, and
son Keane,
and I got him a practice set. Martin Kerrigan made a practice set for me, and I sat with him a few times, and he was just looking all over the pipes and, can I have a go at them? So that was the end of my pipes for 6 years. I had no pipes after that, you know.
Yeah.
So
but I mean, Keane has a great reputation. I mean, he's carrying on the tradition of a Miltown piper.
He's a fine piper. Unfortunately, he's so busy at work now. It's not conducive to playing the pipes and being out late at night and stuff like that. But sure, that'll come back again at some stage, you know.
And again, you know, you like lots of people like myself, you spent a little time abroad in London, and you were working, but you didn't have much time to play over there.
No, again, it was the same. I worked at construction, and the thing is that you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're not home till 7 or 8 at night, you don't fancy going out, you know.
Yeah.
And then if you're using tools and stuff like that, carpentry was my trade, and if you're using tools and stuff like that, you want to try and keep the fingers, you know. So being asleep doesn't help either, you know.
So obviously your father was an influence, but what would you think are the big influences in your music as regards pipes, in terms of the people you've looked up to influence?
Well, you know, that's funny because the way music is would be described, or Willie Clancy's music would be described, should we say. Yes, to Willie's. Bobby Casey would have a similar type. All the lads in Queally would have played like that. It was kind of associated with this locality more than the individuals who kind of got recognition for it, you know. I remember we'd be brought in there on a Saturday evening maybe to Friel's, and getting past the crowd to the door to the kitchen, and my father would stand there, listen to this now, and Willie'd be playing and winking and messing, and you know, and she would make a breakaway to try and get up to the bank corner. You were getting away from it, you know. Yeah. But I don't know. Does that absorb into your system in some way? Here, the same way. I often saw Willie sitting there and playing a whistle. But yet I was very young, you know, at that stage, so it didn't.
I played for granted.
Yeah, and I played once ever with him, out in a house in Spanish Point one night, and there was a couple of marches. I was just at Fáinne and laying something I was after learning, and he kind of lost me with putting cuts and that was way out of my league altogether, you know. But he brought it right back and played together, and you know, I would have visited the workshop with my father more so than in a music environment with Willie, you know.
Just down the Flag Road there, was it?
Yeah. And in Halloran's above here as well. Yeah. He was a great man to make stairs, and if the Halloran's got a job that required the stairs, to get Willie in there, and he'd make him, and you'd go in, but sure, he wouldn't open his mouth to you, you know, be just stuck on what he was doing. You know.
He kind of had a stab at making pipes himself, I think, as well.
Yeah, he has started. I have a chanter at home actually that it's incomplete, and I was saying, you know, finish it, and I said no, leave it the way it is, you know.
Yeah.
And a few bits and pieces. He got a lathe and a few bits and pieces. Like I suppose the curiosity, the bee picks you for a while, and
I think he obviously was going to take that on before, unfortunately, passed.
Yeah.
But speaking of pipers making pipes, but again, you're among a small select of pipers who have actually embarked on making them yourself.
I just don't know how I fell into that silly thing at all. But I think I'm sure actually it was because when Cian started playing and he got and he took to it like a duck to water, you know. And I said, you can't take the pipes back off him for that, like you know. And I, because of my trade, I had some machinery there, and I thought I'd have a stab at, you know. So I would have been trained to measure stuff and duplicate it or make a copy of it. So people often say to me, who taught you to make pipes? And no one taught me to make pipes. I just had to work out a few bits and pieces. And like I say, my previous training would have been measure stuff, reproduce it. So that wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. So you had experience turning wood and things like that.
Yeah, that wouldn't. I using the machines for years, and you know, that wouldn't be a problem. And dimensions and accuracy, that wouldn't be a problem. That's my trade, you know. And so that was the easiest part. But I decided maybe that I should make them on rubbish timber first, just to get the hang of it. And then I said, sure, if I do that, I still don't know what I have, because if you put in reeds in them, you've a rubbish sound and you expect it, but you don't know what you have. So I took my time with the real material first, and made the set.
And had you experience making reeds before that?
The first or second reed I made were the best reeds ever.
Yeah.
I said, sure, this is dead easy. And the third one just deteriorated drastically after that. Yeah. And so I was trying to get back at that again, and Mick O'Brien and Victor Mullally were North Merson, were a great help to me. You know, I'd be on the phone and we'd be chatting away. And I had put in a few reeds that I had, and they were I thought the sound was okay, but maybe with a better read, we might even improve on that, you know. And I rang Mick to say how progress was, you know, and he said, we're actually in Limerick delivering a couple of practice sets. So we'll pop out. So they come out and they stayed a night or two and spent the day in the workshop coming up with the particular reed for this chanter, but that has changed. This is the black art, as they call it, and it is a black art. It's, you know, it's
there's no real rule book, is there? No.
There are guides.
Guides, yeah.
I think it's a learning curve, really, you know, and this conversation was going on one night, and a woman said, I wonder, is it like wine? If you have a good year, you have good grapes, and surely if you have a bad year, maybe the cane might not be. I said, I don't know, but it's a very valid point. Do you know?
And the set you're going to play now is a set you made yourself?
That's the first set I made. That's the prototype kind of thing. So
and that's based on Rowsome measurements.
That was the copy of Willie's Rowsome set.
Yeah.
You know, but it was just a maybe a little flash of madness or something, but
it's a labour of love, I gather.
I enjoyed it. But you can get really. You can start going down alleyways there. I wonder if this and that and the other. It's easy for the likes of us lads now because the lengths are determined. Design is determined. They have tried to improve that with technology, and I don't think they've achieved it. So the likes of Leo Rowsome or maybe people before him had to, you know, does the hole go here or there or wherever, you know, and that's a thing that we don't have to do. It's just
somebody said AI will work it all out for us now.
Yeah, hopefully.
But I can't see AI making a good set of pipes.
No. They've tried. They've done different types of plastic type. Done but they don't sound right. And
a lot of the time, one of the great combinations in Irish music is fiddle and pipes together. They work together.
Yeah.
And you played with various fellas over the years, and can you tell us fellas you enjoyed, or people you enjoyed playing with? You know.
Well, just comes to mind because of his recent death. When I was a very young lad, Seán Keane would be coming down here, and you know you'd be in awe of Seán Keane. But he would always try and have a time to sit down and play a tune with you.
Yeah.
You know, and he was very good to me and very nice in that way. Always throughout my life, you know, we'd always meet in that. For the Willie Clancy week, every single year, Dennis the Hat McMahon, as we call him, from Kerry would come up here and we would have a tune.
Yeah.
And this could be a 6-hour job now.
Yeah.
And you know, when you get into that frame of mind, you're playing tunes you haven't played for so long. But he was brilliant like that at recalling stuff, and again he was a man who actually came up and spent time with Willie here too. You know. So it was nice to have seen through all that. Bobby Casey then was another man that when he'd come here, we'd always play a gig together sometimes, you know. But sure, between laughing at the yarns he'd have and trying to keep serious playing music.
Bobby,
you know,
that was
what a great night.
You're going to have an enjoyable night.
Yeah. But then I suppose when I was late teens, I kind of it wasn't a cool thing for someone of my age to be playing music in Miltown, you know, and it was all older people I was dealing with, you know, and so it was hard to keep that going, you know, with no other lads of your own age doing that. So Peter Crotty and Eamon McGivney met me one evening and they said, is there any chance you'd come up and play in the Claremont in Lahinch with us? So I spent 3 or 4 years playing with them there, and before I went to London, and sure, like only for them I probably wouldn't have continued playing music, you know. And then I would play with him and in Mullock and other places, and you know.
But it's great to have those two be able to take you under the wing.
Yeah, it was certainly I don't see that I would have maybe continued playing music.
Yeah.
Only for that encouragement from them guys, you know.
And considering it's ironic, considering the situation now where, if you think about all the people that are here, the success of Irish music globally, you know.
It's unbelievable.
And pipes in particular.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, it's unbelievable.
It is, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And
let's hope they keep it traditional though.
That'll be the challenge, but I think the real stuff will never die.
Yeah.
So we've talked about pipes, we talked about your father, maybe, and Willie, it's time to hear a tune.
Okay.
And of your own choice. Do you know what you're going to play, Seán?
I don't. I'll tell you after, maybe. If
Okay. And so, Seán, thanks very much again on behalf of the ITMA. It's great that we're in here and brings back memories. And thanks for telling us your story. And we'll see you during the week.
Yeah, thank you too, and you're more than welcome. Okay.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Seán.